Hello everyone, welcome to Broadview. My name is Joseph. In our recent video, we talked about the clairvoyants of today, such as Abhigya Anand and Craig Hamilton Parker. Their prophecies and predictions have proven to be quite accurate, yet they're not perfect. Today, let's talk about a clairvoyant whose predictions have been demonstrated to be nearly 100% correct. Many regard him as one of the most reliable clairvoyants that's ever existed on social media. His story is quite bizarre as well. Whether it's true or false, allow us to share the story of the time traveler who claims himself to be from the year 2058. Soon after the Tokyo Olympics finished in August 2021, it suddenly came to the Japanese people's attention that a tweet made on December 15, 2019 had already predicted that Japan would win 27 gold medals. A prediction like this would have been like a shot in the dark if he got lucky and guessed it right. Because Japan earned an unprecedented number of gold medals that year. Since hosting the Olympics, Japan's number of gold medals earned had usually been much lower. The previous best in gold was 16, both at the 1964 Tokyo Olympics and the 2004 Athens Olympics. This time, the country had earned a completely unexpected number of gold medals. His other tweets also came true exactly as he had predicted. His Twitter account attracted over 520,000 followers. Many people have really come to believe that he may be a real time traveler from the future, or at the very least, have some precognitive ability that most don't have. This Japanese time traveler goes by the name of Rei Kokuban on Twitter. Rei claimed that he has traveled back in time from the year 2058 to 2021 with a time machine, which is quite the claim. Whenever someone makes a bold claim like this, people immediately put their guard up. So for the time being, let's take a closer look at his other predictions. On December 15, 2019, he also tweeted, "The Japanese stock market will crash in March 2020. Only those who believe in me will be saved." Indeed, on March 16, 2020, the stock market across the world suddenly crashed due to COVID-19 pandemic. It became known as the Black Monday. On the same day, he made another tweet that predicted Prime Minister Shinzo Abe would resign in September 2020. He added that the successor would be Yoshihide Suga, the chief cabinet secretary at the time. And get this, things happened exactly as he said they would. On April 8, 2020, he predicted that the Tokyo Olympics would be held on July 23, 2021. Due to the extreme uncertainties created by the COVID-19 pandemic, it was hard to tell at the time whether the Tokyo Olympics would be canceled or not. The dates of the games also haven't been confirmed yet. So far, he got all of his predictions right. So who is this person, Rei? Rei tweeted his own story saying, "I was born in 2034. I am a graduate student in the engineering department of the University of Tokyo, architecture major, and traveled back from 2058 to 2019 in a time machine with the help of a friend. The purpose of this time travel was to provide funding to develop the time machine." It means that he is one of the inventors of the time machine. The project began in 2019, but the funding for the research came from the future. He made money in the future and then traveled back in time to give the money to his past. Quite the story if you ask me. You've probably noticed that he's created a never-ending cycle of events that will repeat over and over again. In the past, at the beginning of the research project, he didn't have money. In the future, he came back to the past to give himself the money to invent the time machine. As time passes, his past eventually enters a future year that he's scheduled to return to the past. So he revisits the past again. Did you follow all that? If you've seen the movie Tenet, you'll get this idea that as long as a time machine is used, the flow of time would follow a repetitive cyclical pattern. He needed to leave a mark in the past to prove the success of his time travel experience. He opened his Twitter account in December 2019 and made these tweets to prove that he had come. He posted goodbye messages telling his followers that he's planning to return to his original time on September 28, 2020. But on September 30th, he tweeted, "Oh no, I couldn't go back. This is dangerous." In another tweet, he added, "I will try to get back again. The last chance is September 28, 2021. Please be safe." The account only caught public attention after the Tokyo Olympics ended in August 2021, just under a month before he was due to leave. By the time the public noticed him, he had already started saying goodbye. If all this were true, it seems that he had left on September 28th, as his Twitter account hasn't had any newer tweets. During the month prior to his departure, people asked questions about the future, and he answered some of them. He admitted that he didn't even know all the answers to the questions. When asked about when the pandemic would end, he predicted that it would be September 24th. When asked about whether flying cars existed in the future, he said, in the future flying cars would be put to practical use in Japan. However, its use in Japan is limited to emergency vehicles and logistics in rural areas and remote islands. When asked if a volcanic eruption would happen at Mount Fuji or an earthquake would occur at South China Sea, he answered that none of these happened until 2058. But there would be a devastating earthquake in Tokachi, Hokkaido in January 2024. There would also be a huge earthquake in Okinawa in January 2037. When questioned whether iPhone would still exist in 2058, he said they use something that's similar to the iPhone, but only 2 millimeters thick, just like a credit card. A lot of his followers expressed their disappointment. They had higher expectations for the technology in 2058, because in essence, what he described is still a phone, but only thinner. When asked about popular games in the future, he explained that there's a time surfing game on a search engine. The player can simulate any historic experience by searching for a time period. It's a virtual time machine that's only available online, and the elderly people are quite addicted to this game. He brought up a significant political change expected in China. In the 2030s, internal frictions would intensify among the Chinese Communist Party. Thereafter, China would be controlled by multiple governments, until November 2039, when a coup on the CCP would cause a change in China's regime. After November 2039, China, Zhuangguo, gets renamed to Huaguo. Did Ray really come from the future? It's hard, if not impossible to say, but many do believe his story because tweets can't be edited once posted, so there's no way to fake the timestamp, while others are skeptical and think that Ray used the hide tweet feature. They believe that Ray posted many tweets to predict the same event, and then hid all of them. After the event had happened, he then made public the tweet that came true. For example, he could have written the number of gold medals for Japan from 5 to 30 and only unhid the tweet with 27 gold medals after the results of the Tokyo Olympics came out, while his tweet would still show the original date when he wrote it, rather than the date published. But many people didn't find this to be a satisfactory explanation. While it's easy to manipulate an accurate prediction for the number of gold medals using this function, Ray also posted sophisticated predictions that would be hard to prepare ahead of time. For example, he answered the name and year of the next female Prime Minister of Japan without hesitation. Also, when our team tested this feature on Twitter, it only hid the replies to tweets, but the original tweet cannot be hidden. Of course, we're not Twitter experts, so please leave a comment below if you have any insight about this feature. Since the concept of parallel universes became more widely accepted, time travel may indeed be a real thing. In fact, there's a very famous story of a Japanese man that might have come from a parallel universe. One day in July 1954, a plane from Europe had just landed in Haneda International Airport in Tokyo, Japan. Not long after, a tall white man came to the customs. The customs officer asked him the usual question, "Hello sir, where are you from?" The man replied, "Taured." The officer found it strange because he's never heard of this country. They checked his passport and found that it was indeed issued by a country named Taured, with the national emblem printed on it. But the officer had never seen a passport that looked like this. The man became impatient and replied, "I've traveled to Japan many times and never encountered such a ridiculous problem like this. Taured's been around for 1,000 years. How can you not know about it?" As he spoke, he flipped through his passport and showed the officers the visa stamps from his previous flights to Japan and many European countries. The officer checked and verified that all of the stamps were real, so he asked the man, "Where is the location of your country?" The man answered that it was at the border of France and Spain. The staff took out a map and asked him to point to his country. The location he pointed to did show a small country, but the name was not Taured, but instead Andorra. The man acted confused and angry, not understanding why there was no Taured on the map. During the argument, the officer discovered that the man spoke several European languages. He was particularly fluent in French and spoke decent Japanese. The man asked the customs officer to call his Japanese business partner. The phone number and company name he provided were correct, but the Japanese man on the other end of the line said he had never heard of the man and did not know his company. Later, the customs officer called the hotel at the number provided by the man. The call was answered, but the hotel staff said that there was no record of the man's room reservation. At this point, the man was close to a breakdown. So the customs officer confiscated his passport and confined him at a high-security hotel room with 2 guards at the door in preparation for the police to intervene the next day. The unthinkable happened. The next morning, after calling his name, no one answered the door. The guards had to ask the hotel to open the door for them, only to find that the man was gone. There was no trace left in the room, as if the man had never entered the room at all. The security personnel were very shocked. The hotel windows were protected, so it wasn't possible for him to leave through the windows. The two security guards didn't see the man leave through the door either. So how did he disappear? More bizarrely, even the man's passport, which had been confiscated, disappeared at around the same time. The passport was kept at another location, so how could he have found it? In 1954, this story went viral. Media outlets in Japan, Europe, and the US reported this bizarre story. The story also got published in two books, The Directory of Possibilities and Strange But True, Mysterious and Bizarre People. People are divided on the story. Many believe that the mysterious man came from another parallel universe. The theory would be that another dimension exists where the time and space overlaps with ours. But there are also people who think of the story as just another urban legend. Compared to the vastness of the universe, the Earth is just a grain of sand. The current wisdom of mankind is far from unraveling the mystery of time travel. But if eventually proven true, these travel stories have opened a window to show that the world is full of wonders. What do you think? Is there anything that we missed? Let us know in the comments and click on the links in the comments section to watch our other two great videos on this topic. We'll see you next time.